Dread Delusion is an open-world RPG modeled in the style of Kingsfield and with a touch of Morrowind. While the game is still in early access, players can experience 2 of the game's floating islands and get a fair portion of the lore. My goal with this video is to attempt to piece together the lore we know so far. This is subject to change as there's questions unanswered that may be touched on by the final release. Until that day, I will do my best with the given lore, and I hope you enjoy. Know that spoilers will abound in this video. The game drops you into the world, and I will be explaining the backstory of said world, so you've been warned. The tale of Dread Delusion begins in a period mentioned in On Peguth by Theodore Hubert, 1389. This period is the ancient times. The god of fertility, life, and abundance appears as a soft, gentle creature, half the stature of a man and with a bleating voice resembling a lamb. This is, of course, how he is depicted. We don't know for certainty, but it is how he is depicted. Wiccans embraced the gods and granted them governorship over different territory. As time would go on, humans would begin building civilization like castles, all the while praying to their patron gods. This begins the period of the Middle Ages. One king by the name of King Tristwich lies at the middle of this period. Given eternal youth by his patron god Peguth, Tristwich reigned over the kingdom of Swift. However, the god's gift comes at a price. The price for the king was he could never produce a child. Outliving his wife, he would adopt a young orphan of war, a girl by the name of Obaith. She would go on to grow and fall in love with a neighboring kingdom's prince. Their marriage would unite the 2 factions. But all was not well, for the prince's god was Elswin, god of love and god of war. Thus it was both the prince and Obaith were assassinated at their wedding ceremony. King Tristwich, outraged, went to war. Much like World War I, all the neighboring kingdoms started picking sides, and it quickly became a bloodbath. This war came to be called the War of Weeping, because, quote, every family felt grief, unquote. Now we turn our attention back to Peguth. The god sided with those against Elswin's onslaught. However, Peguth saw how easily life could be cut short compared to being nurtured. Elswin's crimson axe cleaving through legions of men. His soft heart hardened, and he fled to a deep cave untouched by the war. There he observed the creatures that eked out an existence within the harsh territory. From them, he essentially became an inverse of Fulgrim. He learned that if one discarded foolish notions like beauty and grandeur, life can endure. And so Peguth transformed to reflect this revelation. He would emerge to equal shock and praise from those who previously worshipped this god of fertility, life, and abundance. Those that remained faithful to the new Peguth would be given his gifts, their bodies transformed into monstrosities unrecognizable as the men they previously were. However, their bodies were now engineered to survive this harsh world. The war would rage for 16 years, with kings and gods dying alike. Finally, the last Swift stronghold was besieged. It said that Elswin herself stormed the castle keep, smashing the door down with her axe. Supposedly, Peguth was slaughtered, but many believe a small aspect of him escaped. King Tristwich's ultimate fate is unknown. However, it is said that on moonlit fields in the land of Swift, a man stumbles around crying for Obaith with tears from youthful eyes. Now a new civilization would arise, the Emberian. See, there is a hidden language that makes up the cosmos, symbols that make an incomplete alphabet. This language is called Cipher. Humans need to etch out the symbols, but gods need only think of them. Alone, the symbols do nothing, but together, they create magic. The magic may be limited by the rules written into the very fabric of existence. These rules supposedly predate humanity. We will come back to ciphers later in the video. High above the earth are floating rocks called islands. All over them, people fan out and build civilizations. The Emberians shun the islands due to their instability. Due to this, they only put a handful of outposts on them. Emberian civilization peaks, and they store their knowledge in magical ciphers. They then begin kicking out various groups like the Wikkans and the Endless. The Endless are basically sentient, immortal undead. They'll have their own video soon. Then the world is destroyed by something called the World Rend. Not much is known of what exactly happened. However, it occurred in the year 984 and is described as a flash of magical energy, destroying everything. This Rend would leave all Emberian technology inert. With their technology rendered useless and now outnumbered, factions attacked them. I'm not 100% on this, but I believe this is where the Cadaver Crusades, first led by Lord Ardid, occur. The Wikkans and Endless, once shunned by the Emberians, tore their outposts apart. With the Emberians wiped out, the old skills and spells are relearned. This puts the Wikkans in power, and above them, their gods. During Wikkan Dominance, humanity's growth is stunted. Every spell or cipher letter was controlled by the Wikkan covens. Rules regarding these spells and letters differed coven to coven. Annoyed with Wikkan tyranny, and questioning the fact both humans and gods alike draw from the same source of magic, the Apostatic Union forms. This union fights back against the Wikkans and their gods. This war would become known as the God War. As it continued and the Wikkans lost ground, they became more desperate. They began using increasingly forbidden magic to beat back the Union. The Apostatic Union came out on top, but there's still Wikkan covens and god worshippers in hiding. The Union prosecutes the worshippers with death and even hunts down gods, who are weakened now due to the lack of people worshipping them. 400 years after the World Rend is where the game starts, on the Oneric Isles, located at the southernmost edge of the Apostatic Union. The city of Hollowshire is under Union control, but just barely. Despite seeing the most fighting during the God War, there's still covens in hiding, as well as various factions living on these islands. The Endless to the west, who are so far neutral, but have those hungering for another crusade. Then there's the Clockwork Kingdom, aka Cardova, to the east, who refuse to be absorbed into the Union. You, the player, are a freed prisoner sent by the Inquisition on a suicidal charge against the Dark Star mercenaries. When their leader, Vela Kalos, escapes, you are instructed to continue your mission, find her, and bring her back to the Inquisition. She speaks of great deeds that are afoot, great deeds that will break the Apostatic Union and bring about a new age of heaven. And that is all we know so far. The main campaign isn't any further along than this. If you wish to see how it ends and the choices you make play out, pick up the game come its full release. I will touch upon a few in-universe theories that you can discover. Some believe that humans created the ciphers during the cave-dwelling days. This comes from the first Apostatic Union polymath who theorized this. The Union's stance is that humans predated ciphers. To go against that theory is to embrace death at their hands. The theory goes on to say that humans created the gods due to their superstitions. Thus humans with cipher magic, through their superstitious prayers, created gods as a being. But what happened to the original planet? Well, there are some people who went down there. The planet's surface is called the Underlands. It's home to deadly monsters, and those without protection of the highest degree suffer mutations and painful deaths. The one description we've recovered so far states that after being wounded and damaging his cipher suit, a ship captain became a Death Veil curse. I hope this lore breakdown has intrigued you, and perhaps tempted you to pick up the game. In its current state, it's rather bare bones, and sadly most choices you make don't have complete follow-through. I'm hoping this will change with the final release. At that point, I strongly suggest purchasing the game. If you've been bothered by the wobbly graphics, that can be disabled for much crisper images. Have a good day.